Alright, so the last couple days I've been picking, and my husband's been picking tomatoes out of our front garden. All these are going to turn into sauce. I have a bunch of different types of tomatoes in here. I have big boys, yellows, Mr. Stripeys, I have San Marzano. I have these cool little tomatoes, I forgot what the name of them are, but they stay like a black purple on the top. So that's kind of fun. So I'm going to blend these up in all I have is a little Ninja blender. And then I'm going to put it in a stock pot so I can cook it down before I decide to can it. Some cut up in here. It's going to take a few batches because I have a small little mixer. And away we go. Go Ninja, go Ninja, go. Go Ninja, go Ninja, go. So I like to get it to a nice smooth consistency before I put it in the stock pot. Alright, so this batch has 2 whole onions cut up, a whole head of garlic, plus 1 elephant garlic that I had left over. So I'm going to zap this up. Everything's going to go inside that stainless steel pan. Once I complete cutting all these up and blending them up into a juice form, I will start to cook it down for a few hours. I'm going to be making a whiskey sauce. I have some Maker's Mark left over. But first I'm going to add the seasonings into the 8-quart stock pan. So I'm going to do 1 teaspoon of red chili flakes. And the Italian seasoning, I always just put my herbs in mason jars because I use a lot of herbs in cooking. I don't really measure, which is, I guess, a tisk on trying to teach people how to cook. So that's about like a 1/4 cup to almost a 1/2 cup of Italian seasoning. That's going to get mixed in momentarily. So now I'm going to add in some Maker's Mark. This is probably maybe about a cup. I'm actually going to add it all. This is going to cook down. It's going to give the sauce a great flavor. My brother used to not like tomato sauce whatsoever until a couple years ago, until he tried my sauce that I had made. My original sauce is a wine and balsamic sauce, which is a white wine and balsamic. Then I did a vodka sauce with a little bit of cheese. And then I also did a whiskey sauce. And at that time I had a bunch of Jack Daniels because I was making Jack Daniels fudge and stuff. So I'm going to stir this in. I'm going to put it on low. This is going to simmer for at least 2 hours. And then I'm going to can it up, which will be in a hot water bath. The whiskey tomato sauce is still cooking down. I added a little bit of balsamic vinegar. I kind of just throw whatever in there. And I'm going to do a couple spoonfuls of sugar. The sugar is what helps break down the acid of the tomatoes, which if you have family or friends or anything like that that have like acid reflux, this is a great way to kill down some of the acidity. That's just one way to do it. Okay, so the sauce is done cooking down. I'm going to ladle it. I have pint-sized jars. The hot water bath is going. So when you process pints, it is 35 minutes. If it is quarts, it is 40 minutes. So I'm going to fill these up right to the first rim. This is, once again, just tomato sauce. This is from the garden. I always put a knife in there. It's just something my parents always did, so I just kind of do it too. Whether it really truly works or not, I have no idea, but knock on wood, that's underneath this towel. I have not had any jars bust on me filling. And that's what my parents always used to say that the knife was for, was to kind of break the hot liquid that's going inside of the jar. So I'm going to finish filling these up, and then I'm going to put them in the hot water bath. So one of the things with canning, you always want to make sure, as I stated in my other video, you want to make sure that the rims are cleaned off so that the seals on the domes will properly seal to the jars. In my other video, if you watched the raspberry jam one, you saw that I heated up my domes. In this one I'm not going to, because this is a longer hot water bath process, and with the new technology that they have with the domes and everything, I haven't had an issue just putting them on like this and then putting the covers on. But I'm only going to dome up and put the rings on. 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's do 7 of them first because of the canner. You don't want to put the domes or the screw tops on if they're not going in the canner right away, because then it's going to improperly seal. Then it's going to end up going bad on you on the shelf. And this can last for a couple years if you want to. However, I make a lot of things with sauce in it. Sometimes that's lasagnas and just spaghetti or eggplant parmesan. I'll do as well when it is in stock. And this is just nice to always have on hand. I give stuff away to my neighbors all the time, or my cousins who live down the street as well. So I'm gonna get these all ringed up. All right. So the hot water canner is boiling away. You want it at a boil. And inside your canner as well, you're always gonna have some form of plate. I can't really lift it, but there's a plate in here because you don't wanna have the glass on the bottom of the pan because that will pop your glasses. Hot water canning, you always want to make sure that when you put the jars in that the water is going to go above the dome lids, and that's just the proper way to hot water bath. So I can get a couple more in there, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to have a separate set for these four. This one's not a full jar of sauce, so I'm just going to keep it aside. I'm going to let that come back up to a boil, and then I'm going to put this on a timer. I'm going to set it down to medium-high heat, put a timer on it for 35 minutes, and then I'll show you what they look like when they come out. All right, so it's been 35 minutes since the first set of stock, or tomato sauce, has been in the stock pot. So now we're just going to take them out, and these are going to sit overnight, and then I'll make sure that all the seals have properly sealed. Sometimes you come across one or two that don't seal in a batch. It all depends on the domes that you had bought. I personally just buy Walmart domes. They work very well for us. Right, so those 7 are out. I'm gonna put the next 4 back in. And when that comes back up to a boil, it'll process for 35 minutes, and then all the sauce is done for the night. You know, close up, you can see how hot that is. That is boiling. And that is my whiskey sauce.